following are the words of Noel DiGirolamo, president of the Suffolk County Police Benevolent Association.
Police officers are already being targeted for assassination. Releasing their personal information to criminals will only further endanger them. Stand with law enforcement. Defend the police.
The following radio show is live, except for the announcement you're hearing right now.
Welcome back to Your Island Live with your host, Tom Schilero, on 103.9 LI News Radio.
And once again, welcome back as we're moving right along on our Wednesday edition. So now, what do we do Wednesday at this time? 12:35, we have the great Ken Bombace, one of our turning to be a senior contributor. I got to give him that. Probably I'll wait till January. He'll become a senior contributor, and just helps us out quite a bit on our Wednesdays at 12:35. In fact, Ken was on this morning. I filled in for the great Jay Oliver, LI in the AM. We started at 6 a.m. this morning, folks, and Ken got up early also and helped us out on the program with a lot to talk about. Ken Bombace, my friend, how are you? Whoop. Just stand by. We'll get Ken on here. Now we have Ken. Ken, how are you?
I'm doing great, Tom. Thanks for having me on a second time today.
Oh, my God. We can't get enough here. We have to really keep exploring. You know, been meaning to talk to you about this. You've been sending some text messages. Is what the heck is going on with those homicides in Idaho? You know, I've been watching some of the press conferences, and you know, you and I are used to seeing investigations go to a certain point, make progress, and then there's enough for an arrest. Particularly today, with all of the forensics ability, facial recognition, DNA, cameras everywhere you go. Everybody's always got a camera out and so on like that. What do you think is going wrong there?
Well, I think the easy answer, the quick answer, is there hasn't been many developments lately. I know that there's a few things that I could talk about. That one of them we all know is this Hyundai Elantra, I think a 2011 or 13 that they're looking for. Just today, recently, they said they had sighting of a vehicle that matched it in Oregon, but that's turned out to be unrelated. On another note, there was this video that over the weekend that they were really focusing on of two of the victims, two girls, walking, and there was a third subject with a hoodie on who was next to them. And they also are caught on audio actually discussing someone named Adam. But that, too, has turned out to be, they said, that is not a suspect in this case, and that was not related to this investigation. So they have that. One of the families also has launched a fundraiser, and part of that fundraiser is going to be towards possibly hiring a private investigator because they're frustrated with the progress. And the other thing is for a reward, something that Jay has actually spoken about quite a bit, is why haven't they put out a reward yet to try and get information in this case? But aside from that, unfortunately, there isn't many updates other than they put out an official release with not much information, but they said they do have now. They've broken 10,000 tips they've received. And the problem with 10,000 tips is it takes time to vet all of those and see if there's anything that could possibly contribute to this investigation.
Yeah. So, again, I noticed one of the press conferences. I think my thinking gets a little slanted because I watch what happens with professional law enforcement and what we've seen here locally, Suffolk County Police Department, Nassau County Police Department. I mean, spot on. And you certainly could attest to that, the ability of our police departments here locally. So sometimes you wonder, Uvalde was a perfect example, and that we don't have national standards when it comes to policing, because I think, they're falling down in a lot of areas. I saw a press conference and it was almost like a mea culpa of the public information officer in trying to explain why hasn't there been enough progress. And he basically said, well, we have a lot of people working on this case, and we have 84 years of experience. And then I'm trying to figure that all out, and then you notice there's like 25 people working on it with 84 years experience. To me, that's all rookies if you do the division on it. So you wonder what is the right answer, and why isn't there progress there? And then, of course, there is the assistance. FBI is always willing to lend a hand and to help out with that. So I guess it's easy for you and I maybe to be critical of an investigation, but it deals with lives. People are again concerned, and they want to see, particularly the families in this case. So this case is kind of bewildering.
It is, and it's also it's tough in these days in this day and age that, people want real time information and they want answers right away and results. And unfortunately, still, even in 2022, it doesn't always work that way in investigations. Plus, this is a 60-person police department, and they have 6 detectives there that, they say are working on this case. But I think we shouldn't focus on the Moscow Police Department too much as far as the progress. Because remember, now we have the state police involved, and they've asked for the assistance of the FBI that have personnel dedicated there and also around the country that are assisting in the investigation. So I think they're making progress. They said they will not put out information unless it is vetted and unless it is unless it's vetted and they feel it won't, by releasing it, they won't jeopardize the investigation. So there's information they have that we are not aware of at this time. And I think in time that'll be released. And hopefully, they say they're making progress with this vehicle. Hopefully we hear something soon.
And again, I think a lot of people, are just waiting for that. This just came through 9:00 this morning. A police officer in Bed-Stuy was making an arrest and was handcuffing the subject. I think it was on a domestic dispute and how dangerous they are. And the individual, during the course of the arrest, the individual had a gun in his waistband. This just came out just now. So it happened just about an hour and a half ago. And he was shot, but the officer was shot with the suspect's gun. Right now, it looks like the officer is going to be okay, but it's causing a little havoc over there in the Bed-Stuy area. So another police officer, again, how dangerous it is out there, particularly on these domestics. And, again, just seeing this is just happening right now. I'm just getting bits and pieces of that information. So a police officer shot in Brooklyn just about an hour and a half ago. So we're looking to see, hopefully, he does turn out okay. And I think so far they are saying that. Dangerous job, Ken. I mean, to me, that just gives me chills every time I read that, Ken.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Tom, we have 300 in 2022. This is the most dangerous year that I can recall. 323 police officers have been shot, of which 60 have died. That is such a huge crisis in this country that no one pays attention to right now. It seems like they're worried about everything, far more worried about criminals and criminals' rights than they are worried about the 323 police officers that have been shot this year. 60 died. And that's, I think, one of the great challenges we've faced in this country right now. And it seems like it doesn't nearly get as much attention as it should. That's a crisis right now.
It is. I mean, many police departments are having trouble recruiting people to come on the job. There's still, I think we've gotten past certainly the situation in Minneapolis with George Floyd. I think many people started to realize common sense. Come on, you can't be defunding the cops and blaming the police for everything that's out there. And that the whole idea of support the blue, we're seeing that, and I believe that 90% of the American people support the blue, support their police department, which keeps them safe. It just seems that the voice that has the most legs and the most oxygen is that far radical left. That keeps, and it's still out there. You're still going to see this anti-police sentiment up in Albany, our own state, by many people that were reelected, that came out of New York City and so on, in spite of the fact that the gubernatorial candidate, Lee Zeldin, ran a pro-law enforcement and anti-crime campaign. So I guess it's a little disheartening. When I read about this officer now, a veteran, 38 years old, now in the hospital with a gunshot wound because he's making an arrest and doing his responsibilities of what he does. And I would just hope that the people of the city of New York could at least somehow, with all of these cases that are going on, just show that appreciation like they once did 20 years ago, right after 9/11. And that these far left individuals that represent them in the state Senate and the state Assembly could maybe have an eye opener to start to see what's right and what's wrong. And they're wrong. And that's the only way that I could say it, Ken.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there cases in this country that where people are wrongfully shot by the police departments throughout the country, law enforcement, of course, but it is microscopic, Tom, and it's a tough job. and it's half-a-second decisions. The number is microscopic when you think about how many hundreds of millions of calls for service we have in this country every year. The number is so small, and we have 323 police officers shot, 60 killed, and you never even hear it talked about. And you're right, it's definitely an issue we have, a loud voice we have coming from the left, and also multiplying that is the fact that they have this strong affiliation with media. So that's what you hear. That's the voice we're hearing. But like you said, the vast majority of people I come across, and I teach criminal justice, vast majority of people I come across and speak to all support their police. Of course. Why wouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't someone do that? And I'll tell you, what you mentioned before, they're having problems recruiting. They are nationwide. But I'll tell you this, it's not because it's dangerous. It is dangerous. It's more dangerous than it's ever been. But cops have never, people who want to be in law enforcement, they've never shied away from the danger. What's stopping them is the lack of support by this country behind law enforcement. That is the reason. When you have a thankless job like one of a police officer, where your job is so dangerous every day, day in and day out, and then you also have what's the perception is anyway of your country turning your back on you and the people turning your back, that's hard to swallow. That's not a career many people want to sign up for. It's not the danger. That's what police do. They do danger. It's the lack of support and voice we've heard over the last few years trying to condemn our police, and that needs to change quick.
Well said, Ken. I mean, again, while you're speaking, I'm thinking many times where there are citizens out there that somehow want to bait the police. We see it with the advent of social media, like YouTube is a perfect example. There are so many people out there that bring their video cameras, and some of them have very sophisticated equipment because they're making a lot of money baiting police officers. And I watch some of these videos. Not that it gives me any satisfaction because all it does is make me angry. But I do watch it because at least it helps me to try to understand the difficulties of being a police officer today in 2022, soon to be 2023, because you have these morons out there, and I don't know how else to say it, so that they call themselves First Amendment auditors, and what they're doing is just baiting the police. And then they feel they have this free speech, and of course we know what free speech is, and they get to degrade the police and denigrate them, and then you call them all sorts of names and tyrants and so on. And I'm looking at a lot of these police officers, and by the way, the individual I'm talking about, his name is Sean Paul Reyes, and if he's ever interested, if he's listening to my show right now, he lives on Long Island, he calls himself the Long Island Auditor, I'll ask him to call in because I want to talk to him about what he does. You know, he feels he has hundreds of thousands of people that support him, and he does have a lot of subscribers, but all he wants to do is get the police in a situation so he can call them a tyrant. I mean, he gets a kick out of that, in addition to the fact of taking civil service workers that are doing nothing but working in government buildings, working in police stations, and so on, and he gets to go after them too, and he's making money off of that. So in some cases, the social media is responsible for a lot of this negativism, and while I watch it, and I watch what he does, particularly to our Suffolk County police officers, which is you're not really doing that much anymore with Suffolk Police because we all know who he is. I just mentioned his name. It's no big secret. So the Suffolk cops know who he is and know what his game is. That when it goes beyond that, it's just an added burden on a very difficult job. And I guess it's something that bothers me, and I think our police need support. Our police abide by rights. That's what we do. We live in a great free country. Don't try to push the envelope because you're making money off of it. And I guess that was an editorial, I guess. But Ken, what do you say?
Yeah. So I agree with you completely. I think this is a crisis we need to face right now. And I look at these young officers, and that's what I'm 52 now, and I look at these young officers when I come across them now, and they seem like kids, and I give them so much credit for being out there on patrol every day with what they're facing. In my career, I retired prior to this anti-police sentiment that we see now. And it's a very challenging job, and it can be dangerous, this anti-police sentiment, because the other day I watched a video, and Tom, I can't remember where it was, but it was a video of a police officer. They confronted somebody who was near a school, and he had a knife. And I watched the video, and they let this individual get dangerously close to this officer with this knife before they shot him. And I think you should never let someone within 5 feet, and that's how close he seemed to be in this video. And it seems to me that a big reason for that is these police officers are terrified. They're terrified that we're not going to have their back if they have to pull that trigger. So they're waiting, they're hesitating, and that's dangerous. That costs lives. So I think that there needs to be a voice, a national voice even, that comes out and says enough is enough. We need to support our police. These are professionals. They're working hard every day, around the clock, to keep us safe. And I'm not sure who that should be. Should that be the director of the FBI? You know, we're in our country, obviously, we have many law enforcement agencies on the policing side through county, states, towns, villages. And we need a national voice to come out and start defending these police officers. And actually, if we're looking to pass laws, and all these legislators, let's pass laws that protect our police. These people shouldn't be able to get within a certain amount of feet with them with a camera when they're trying to do their job. These police, they have body cams, most of them. They're not trying to hide anything, but it's dangerous when you let these people get right in their face with cameras and interfere with the job they're trying to do. It distracts them. It could be deadly. So I think if we're going to be looking for legislation, that's the type of legislation we need to be seeking.
And they are, actually. I spoke to Senator-elect E. Murray, and he said they are sitting down to try to come up with a space rule, and you have a distance of space before you can start as close as you can get to an incident. I'm not even exactly sure if I'm paraphrasing it correctly, but it made a lot of sense to me that these individuals, because they're being fed by Facebook, live on Facebook and YouTube and so on. This is what's breeding these people. They're coming out of the woodwork. They're almost like rats, and they're buying this expensive equipment. They want to see how close they can come to the police when they're doing their job. And you know as well as I know that when you're involved in a situation, it's late at night, you may have one partner with you and so on, and it's getting very froggy out there. You're dealing with somebody real bad, so you're keeping your eyes open. You're looking for that knife. You're looking for that gun that may come out any given second. And now you got to worry about a guy that's standing there with maybe a camera. It could be a camera, but he's lurking around. And I think if people knew that feeling, like this Long Island audit guy, if they knew that feeling, then maybe they would have a different idea. But they don't. They're only interested in their YouTube channels and degrading our police department. Of course, if he was on the program, he would deny all of this. But that's really what it is, and so on. But you hit on a very important point. When it comes to that, they need to pass legislation like that. And it's not unconstitutional. We're not taking your right to use your silly iPhone. We're not going to take that right away. You could still use it. Just stay out of the way of the police, okay?
Yeah, and I'd go further, Tom. I'd say that there needs to be legislation passed that if these officers are out there doing a very tough job where their life can be at risk within seconds, they need to be given the benefit of the doubt. When these incidents take place, we need to have their back when these things happen, or they're not going to act, and they could put themselves in danger and other people in danger. Now it's almost like they're found guilty before, there's even an investigation into these police incidents that take place. They need to know that police in this job where they make decisions in a split second with such difficult situations, they can make mistakes. They need that. Sometimes things are just tragic. You might have people who these situations are so chaotic. A police officer might make a mistake where their heart's in the right place. They're trying to help people here. We need to have their back and say that, look, sometimes it's just a tragedy. This was an incident that took place. There was somebody maybe who was violent, and they had to make a split-second decision. They need to know that we have their back overall throughout the day. Do you want to pass national legislation? That's what there really should be, where we have something that protects police doing their job every day. Because we're going to have huge police recruitment shortages. We're going to have people retiring, people refusing, and the quality of the people who are willing to take these positions is really going to suffer.
Yeah, and I think you're starting to see that right now, particularly with the new session starting in Albany, and also now with at least a bipartisan government, Democrats controlling the Senate, the Republicans controlling the House of Representatives. There is a criminal justice agenda. I've read tidbits about what they are proposing. I think it's all great stuff. Ken, before I let you go, final thoughts. I mean, we're not going to see you again until after the holiday.
Yeah, well, it's been great, Tom. It's been great being on your show, and today it was excellent being on both the morning and the afternoon show. I love talking about these topics and keeping the people informed of these things. I look forward to the new year.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting year. Again, politically, as we know, we spend a lot of time with that, but just really helping the people out here in Suffolk County. Once again, Ken Bombace. Ken, thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you and your family. We'll talk to you again next week.
Merry Christmas to you also, Tom. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Okay, we'll take a short break. When we get back, hey, let's talk to Rich Chris. Talk about the Albany session, pay raises. We can talk about that. Talk about George Santos. I want to know what he thinks about it. We'll be right back.